Hello everybody, and welcome back again to my channel. It's been fairly dormant for a while for a number of reasons, but today I would like to discuss my latest development in the area of head preamps. And specifically, I'm going to be talking in detail about this particular model. As you have seen my previous videos, you would know that I have quite a few head preamps in my collection. I think I made maybe 15 different units of different kind. And lately, what I've been doing was taking some of the older models I've built and upgraded them to my new vision. Certainly over the period of years, your vision sometimes or very often changes. And this was no exception. Once again, if you watched my previous videos, you would know I have different grades of the tape preamps. The way I call them level 1, 2, 3, and 4. And just to give you the brief update, the level 1 is a single EQ configuration. It's the simplest one to build. And as a reminder, all my head preamps except one, except the Marantz 7 model, they all are based on balanced audio technology phonostages. That's a device I developed many years ago, and it's been through several different iterations, upgrades, and model changes. And that's a device I know quite well, so I feel totally at home modifying that one, simply because, once again, it's my baby. So as I mentioned before, as I started telling you, the level 1 is a single EQ modification. You remove the RIAA modification from the unit and change the network slightly to make it adapt to a particular EQ standard. Which standard? It could be either one. It could be 15 inches NAB or 15 inches IAC or something different. Could be maybe even 30 inches per second. But it would be just one particular EQ. And I still have one like that, one preamplifier with a single equalization, and that one is sitting in the system connected to my Studer A810 machine, and I rarely use it, but it's working fine. It's a very clean modification. The traces are very short. You do everything right there where the network is. Therefore, your noise pickup is low, and the operation usually is flawless. And it's very, very easy to calibrate. I usually just have a trim pot inside. I can go inside and adjust it based on my calibration tape, or as I have been doing lately, I simply set the equalization curves based on audio precision readings. I have developed the cardinal calibration points which allow me to calibrate the machine on the test setup very quickly. In a matter of few minutes, I can calibrate the preamplifier to several different equalization standards. Going up in channel or in ladder, if you will, the level 2 modification usually puts the multi-turn dials on the front panel with the potentiometers right behind the panel and connects them with wires to the area where the equalization circuitry is residing. Of course, like everything in life, this particular configuration has pluses and minuses. Obviously, the big plus is that the controls for equalization are right on the front panel. So you can easily tune your unit very easily by using those front panel dials. It's very convenient. But the reality is such that you normally are limited to just 2 possible equalizations. And that is fine for many people. For example, I would say the great majority of people using tape recorders today would be totally satisfied with 15 inches per second NAB and 15 inches per second IAC equalizations. So that particular configuration works fine for many people. And I've made several preamps like that. They work very well. In some instances, their noise pickup is a little bit worse than the configuration number 1. Again, the configuration number 1 has no wires essentially, and number 2 has fairly long, I would say about 10 inches long runs of wires in the sensitive part of the circuitry. So yes, I'm using very low radiation power transformers. They're very high quality toroidal, shielded toroidal devices, but still you can get a little bit of the pickup. It's never been an issue really because it's very low. It's buried in the noise. It's definitely buried very deeply into tape noise. But it is still something you can see. So for this reason, this is a configuration I would like to move away from in the ideal world. Which brings us to the configuration number 3. And that's a unit you currently seen in the rack, mounted right below my Studer A810. And in that configuration, which I'm going to examine a little bit in more detail a little bit later, you will see the internal implementation details. But enough is to say that I'm using long potentiometer shafts from the front panel all the way back to the network area. So the trim pad or potentiometers for calibration are mounted right where the network is. So the runs of wires are very short, and the noise pickup is definitely much reduced. But the convenience of the front panel remains. Those long shafts allow you to do the front panel calibration without much difficulty. And I produced maybe 3 of those models, and they work very well, but they typically are limited to just 2 equalization curves. In most cases, in my particular case, those would be 15 inches IAC and 30 inches per second, because that's what I'm using most. But since lately I've been getting more of very high quality NAB tape, the question of the NAB equalization popped up, and I was kind of forced to find a good solution for that as well. So that's number 3. And of course, number 2 is my 5 equalization network, where I replace the onboard equalization network with a 5-position circuit board, which allows me to select via front panel switch any equalization, including RIAA, NAB for both speeds, 7.5 and 15 inches IC, and 30 inches per second speed. That's very convenient, and it works very, very well. And I will show you later one of such units. It simply has 5-position switch in the front, and that's it. The circuit traces are very short, wires are short, so there is no pickup. It works like a charm. So lately, I converted some of my earlier versions, be it versions 2 or 3, to configuration number 4 with a 5-position switch. And this conversion can be done, and it works very, very effectively. But nothing in life is free, and there is a cost to that kind of upgrade. And here you have 2 units for such comparison. So what is immediately obvious, that the top of the line modification on the left uses different front panel, or should I say it just uses the same basic front panel but in different way. The machine on the right has 4 dials. There are four holes drilled for those dials and switches and so on. And the one on the left is very simple, very clean. It's just one switch in the middle, which means that if you have configuration on the right and you would like to convert to 5-position equalization on the left, you're pretty much out of your luck, because your front panel is not going to work. And yes, I understand we're talking about very, very practical limitations. It's not fundamental to the operation of the unit, but it's still very, very important. Because the question is, where do you get the machine for modification? The answer is very simple. The best place to get such a machine is on the used market. That's good. But on the used market, a machine like that, the basic VKP10 head preamp or tape preamp, or should I say the phono stage, it costs a fair amount of money. For a clean unit like that, expect to pay anywhere maybe from $3,000 to $4,000, maybe more, depending upon the condition, what has been done to the units, upgrades and whatnot. And that's a fair amount of money, especially since you're going to be doing some further modifications, and if you do it for somebody, that costs money as well, so the end product is going to be very expensive. In this case, if you already done the panel shown on the right with 4 potentiometers, it's not usable anymore for the model on the left. Where do you get replacement panel? Well, there is no mystery. You're pretty much out of luck. Those are older units. They are no longer in production. The parts simply don't exist. Which brings us back to the modification. If you would like to have further functionality added to this particular unit that already has 4 controls on the front panel, what do you do? I should also mention that the model on the left, the 5EQ model, is very, very good. It's extremely convenient in use, but it's not as convenient during the calibration, because as you can see, the calibration board, it is a blue color board in the back. It's located deep inside the unit. So to do the calibration, you have to take this stage out of the rack, pull it out, remove the top cover if you have it on, just to get access to the calibration points. The one on the right doesn't have this issue. You simply go to the front panel and use its dial, all those 4 dials, to control different calibration points. So that's a very, it's, like I said, everything in life has pluses and minuses. And here we have this difficult case, where in one case you have very convenient operation, multifunction, 5 positions, great. In other case you have 2 positions, 2 possible IQs, but perfectly easy front panel calibration. Well, I analyzed this configuration on the right, and I decided that I can do something a little bit better. Instead of doing 2 positions EQ like normally those units would have, I would add another switch, and you can see it is a switch below that's been added. And with that modification, I get a fairly interesting beast. I now have a machine which can have any 2 possible equalization out of a list of 4. So yes, your front panel still allows you to select just 2 equalization curves. They're called EQ1 and EQ2 in this situation. But those 2 could be taken very easily out of the list of 4 different possible scenarios, and your unit can be very easily recalibrated to any choice of those 2 out of 4. So you can set it, for example, 7 inches IC on the left and 30 inches per second on the right. All you have to do is to look up at the calibration table and dial the corresponding numbers into the front panel dials without doing any electronic testing, without using any test tools. You simply set the dial to the number written in your table. And I grant it. It's not something you would like to be doing every day. Yes, it takes only seconds, but still it's a procedure. You have to look at the table, you have to dial the number. So you probably do it once in a while, but it is available to you. So if your needs suddenly changed and you no longer need particular equalization, but you would like to get a different one, you can simply reconfigure the unit. And using those 2 front panel switches, you can very quickly select the configuration EQ you like. So let's listen a little bit more to this beautiful music, and then I will tell you more details, give you more details about the inner stuff in that particular model. And since I have too many of those preamps in my collection already, this one might go on sale at some point in near future. I just don't need 15 preamps or 12 or whatever number it is. It's a big number. They're everywhere. So let's listen to this beautiful music for a couple minutes, and then we'll proceed with some technical details. Here I'm using my trusty Studer A810 that I had for a number of years, and this machine been modified by me to direct output. But this one was modified in a non-traditional way. You know, the traditional way installs the switch. And when you throw the switch, you disconnect the internal circuitry and you connect external jacks. And that's clean, it's nice. But it's also a very complicated procedure. The space inside the head block is limited. There is always question about where you put the switch, wiring, and so on. So in this particular case, I simply wired direct output in parallel. So at the same time, you have two circuits working. You have the internal circuit and the external preamp, both working in parallel. Yes, I know some people say this is not good, and I completely disagree with that. An active circuit running powered up produces nothing but resistive components across those terminals. So what you have to do essentially is include this resistive component into your calculation. And of course the preamp has input resistor selection. This particular one has at least 4 different possibilities you can select with the flip of the switch. You can go 20K, 40K, 100, or there is another position which I'm currently using for 30 kilo ohm. So select one you like based on your calibration. Sound-wise, I do not detect any negatives at all. And I've done this type of connection in several cases, always with very, very good results. So my advice is not to shy away from that simple configuration. At least consider it, because it's so much easier and it works like a charm. This is a wonderful recording. I would like to spend more time, but this particular video is not about the music clip or music piece. It is about the technology. So let me provide some additional technical details. So here we are looking at this preamplifier in a close-up configuration. As you can see, the front panel has 2 switches, and the one on the bottom is marked NAB, IEC, because that's the way it performs. It controls the low frequency region of the calibration curve. And the upper one simply selects EQ1, EQ2. Left channel, right channel, EQ1, 2, 1, 2. Very, very easy configuration. So conceivably you can have configuration like this, or like that, or even like this. It's possible. It depends on your choice. Like I said, 2 out of possible 4. Inside you will see the construction detail I mentioned to you before. The controls from the front panel, or dials on the front panel, are connected to the potentiometers in the back via long shafts. It's a mechanical connection that allows you to avoid any possible noise pickup.